One extremely important aspect of stretching the spine is providing it with necessary support. Now, in relationship to short box roll downs or short box side sit ups, it's important to know that down phase in either of those can cause major discomfort to students that have tight hip flexors, haven't yet understood how to lengthen the spine, have lack of core control and abdominal strength, or simply feel uncertain about their movements, going backwards or going sideways. When they feel uncertain about their movement or fear of going backwards or side bending when loaded, that's going to cause neural tension, which is no amount of cueing properly is going to give them that confidence of movement without creating intense neural tension out of fear. So with me, as an example, I had extreme neural tension out of fear of going backwards due to my herniations or side bending due to both my herniations and my scoliosis. So I stayed away from them forever and ever. Now, I've got some really great different variations I want to show you with side sit-ups. And the most important thing that really saved me was my fear of my foot slipping out of the strap. So I'm going to show you, I've got the Revo bar. So I'm going to bring it all the way out just so I can show you. Now it's going to be a little bit difficult because you're not seeing the vantage point in the well. So what I want you to do is kind of look, this is the general, let me get the foot bar out of the way. This is the general foot position when we're doing side sit-ups or side lifts. Now, if you watch any tutorials or videos or you've gone through my progressive Pilates workshop, you know there's a big difference between bending the bending the spine sideways, compressive or with length. I will tell you, when this was my foot position, I always felt precarious, even when I did it without the wool straps. I got the wool strap covers for all my reformers and highly recommend them for safety and security. And I don't believe that many people would do feet in the straps or in the loops on the trap table without the wool covers. And I feel the same way with the reformer class. Now, going back to foot position and insecurity, yeah, I can cue dorsiflexion all I want. I can teach the person to hook their foot in there. But when they're getting a really great stretch, we want to make sure that they're enjoying that stretch and they're not so focused on staying secure in that loop. So here's what I do. Instead of having them clipped one on each side, I clip them both on one side. And obviously I'm going to change it when I do the other side of the body. That security is amazing. The other thing I'll do, and I do the same thing with my students when we're doing feet in the wool straps on the trap table, is I'll twist it. Once I've twisted it a couple times, I am super secure. So we're going to go over that foot position for side sitting in today's video. And I want you to experience this because I'm telling you, with the wool strap, with both of it on one side, it is absolutely a completely different stabilization aspect and traction. And also, as I mentioned earlier, it takes a lot of that fear of side bending, feeling that I might slip out, because you can't slip out. See how tight that is? All right. So let's get started. I am going to also, in addition to that, I'm going to show you my personal propping that I use that takes the fear out of the upper body away. So when we do short box, generally speaking, we put the short box right up against the shoulder blocks, so the shoulder stops. With this propping, I always want to do maybe 2 or 3 fingers distance away. Let me grab the setups and I'll stand on the other side of the reformer so I'm not in the way. With shorter limb students, I will always move this setup closer this way, so they're not feeling like they're not getting the proper position. Then I will set this here and I will set that there. There's your spine stabilization. Now for standard setup for most of my students, I will put the headrest up, put the head box cushion on the headrest, make sure it's at the same angle, and then I'll buttress that up against it and then put this on. So you can see I have the ab mat from Rogue Fitness, which is basically a 2-inch spine arch support. I'm going to demonstrate today with this as well as my 5-inch spine arc, which can be bought through my shop page, the store page. And both of them work great. Now, in this position with the spine arc on, it's going to be a lot more stable, as you can see here. They're not going to go as far, but most people don't need to go far right away. Now, it's really stable back and forth too. So when you move it off the box and you put it on here, the weight of the body can go a lot farther down because the weight's all on the spine arc, not the box. So you need to play around with those two positions. In addition to having it here and having it here, I can also take this down if I know my students have that ability and put it this way. Whether it's the 5-inch spine arc or the ab mat, I can put it there. You can also, when you have students that have that ability not to twist and they really understand that, the stabilization aspect, that'll get them a lot lower. Now, with the clinical reformers, I'm 18 inches off the ground, so I can get a huge stretch, similarly to the depth you can get with the ladder barrel when you're doing hips on the barrel, feet under the ladder. And oftentimes, you'll see some of my exercises are actually translations from either the trap table, the ladder barrel, or the Pilates chair onto the reformer. So I can give our students a full spectrum of experience and not just reformer exercises, but translations from the equipment, which is quite fascinating to bring into the reformer room and into a group class. So let me show you with this. Now, I'll show you propped up, even though I want you to try all the different variations. Now, if you don't have an ab mat and you have this, I would say that's better than nothing. But I would never do this with my students because I want this spine support. So let's say you have the head block and you haven't gotten an ab mat, which I highly recommend getting, or a spine arc. You can always put something over it, like a pillow or something, so you have a little bit of spine support for that lateral flexion. Let me go over the 5-inch spine arc to start with. Now, each student's sensation is going to be completely different. Whether they want the thickest end to them or the thickest end away from them, it's up to them. I've had students say they like this better. I've had students say they like the other way better. Part of it is their torso length or their spine length from the hips to the torso ratio, what they're going to like better. Longer limb students, this is probably going to feel great because it's starting them much at a higher arc. But if you have students with a shorter rib to pelvic ratio, this is going to feel compressed. It's going to like jack them up. So this is going to be your general setup with the thickest end away. So I'm going to twist this once, twice, and then put my foot in. And I am locked and loaded. Get that in there. There we go. All right. So as I mentioned, this takes the fear away. As I mentioned, this takes the fear away. And I'm really supported on both. So I'm going to get myself there. Now, this is the basic format that I do when I'm doing side bend. I never in the beginning take my hand off the frame. I'm always going to keep one hand on. I'm going to make sure that they lengthen over, press and lower down, and that's good. That's supporting me really well, but I'm getting a deep stretch already. And I'm just going to reach the arm over and then only come up as far as my arm extends me up. I don't want to load this when I'm stretching it, especially with new students. And also, too, my cue is not to side bend. My cue is to reach the skull toward that Da Vinci circle and lengthen up. Really focusing on spine length. Axial elongation is going to lift me up. Adding the arm to get some lat. Now, if I want to add a rotational aspect, this is where the ab mat needs to be on, or the spine arc needs to be on, because we don't want it tipping. You're going to bring both your hip and your rib to the side. You're going to get a really great stretch and take one arm out and then reach the other arm and rotate. You have to be very safe on this. Make sure you're on the front so you don't tip off. So you can rotate up, reach back, rotate down, rotate back. Foot support, spine support, it feels absolutely amazing. Now, the great thing about this too is I can add rotation of the spine with the stretch. The one thing I didn't mention, you need to make sure your hips are aligned with this. We don't want them too far back, because then we're going to tip. So always make sure your students align your hips and waist with this at first when they're doing the side stretches. So I'm going to bring my body to this edge. So when I rotate, my breastbone is in the center. And then I'm going to simply lower and press and lower. Now, if I want to get a deeper stretch, as I mentioned in the beginning, I can lower that headrest down, which is going to start me in a lower position and stretch. And you would not believe how secure I am in that strap in this position. I can put my hands under the frame, take a big inhale, exhale to stretch. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, stretch. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, stretch. Now, you may be thinking, gosh, Sean, that's really not a workout for our students. Without this setup, it's a workout. Yes, but do your students need to tighten their back, or do they need to lengthen their back? If I'm going to do this series, I will never put dumbbells in their hands, and I see it done all the time. People think adding dumbbells to an exercise, such as side sit-ups or side lifts, and adding tricep extensions, makes the exercise harder. Absolutely it does. It adds a load, but it compromises their spine integrity when we do that, unless the students are super high level and they understand when we add a distraction, which the arm movement is a distraction to their ability to stay organized in their spine and move with precision and length, it may not be the best choice of an exercise to add a dumbbell to. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying think about it. And do you want this as an exercise to always strengthen, or do we want to set it up where we lengthen and support? So as I mentioned, I may do this for all my beginning students with the hands-on. Then I'm going to take my all-level students and then have them hands off and then back, and then hands off. And then I'm going to take them here, hands off, arm reach, back down. You will never see me tell them to bend and lift, because that is so compressive. We do not, in a side sit-up, need to come up any higher than where our spine is straight. Otherwise, we're compressing. And if we constantly compress our spine with a load, we're going to shorten the distance, thicken the waist, instead of elongate it. So remember, anytime you're doing a side sit-up series, single foot, single foot side sitting on one. Get this propping set up. It is amazing. And then to finish off with roll downs, putting it back in the standard position. I always want to make sure there's some space between my butt and the arc. Make sure the arc is on. Roll it down. And right now I feel great. I don't feel compromised. I'm flexing the feet. I've got them in there, and I'm stretching. What this does for me is prevents hyperextension of my lumbar spine and allows me to feel that extension. Now, I don't want to go and drop my neck like that. So I want to make sure when I'm doing it, I'm thinking and cueing length through the skull and extension in my upper back. I do not need to add any more extension in my lower back, because that's hyperextension. And you'll hear me say a lot the other times in different swan exercises or spine extension exercises, When you're doing a back bend, make sure it's supported. Make sure you have that support for your lumbar spine. This feels absolutely amazing. The Rogue Fitness ab mats you can get on Rogue Fitness. You can get my 3-inch, or as I'm showing today, the 5-inch spine arcs by ordering through the website. The head box is a balanced body product. I recommend getting them. There is so many different uses for them. This has changed my practice and my students' practice by giving them this support that they desperately need. Try the foot position, both clipped on one side. Get the wool straps if you can. If you can't, and you're doing it in one, just put something soft over it, or you wear long socks, just so you're not cutting into those canvas straps. I have some, it's a prototype, and hopefully very soon it will be completed and for sale on the website. Elements by Momentum World, who makes all those amazing custom double loops, these handle loop combos. She's making me a neoprene, soft neoprene foot strap here. It's got cushion to it. That will also match everything. So if you're doing like me in my studio, I'm all black and white stripes. Let's say your brand is blue. You brand all your handles and loops and your foot strap all in blue. It's quite amazing. It really elevates the brand. And the neoprene in today's environment where we really need to be much more sanitary, it's totally easy to clean. I have my janitor once a week take all the straps off, take these off, and hand wash them and dry them. And the neoprene is dried by the next morning. These are still a little wet, so I have 2 sets of the wool fuzzy covers. All right, thanks for watching this tutorial, and hopefully the variations and modifications and propping that you saw in here are helpful. If you have any questions, you can always email me or put a comment below the video, and I'll answer you back as soon as I can. Thanks for watching.